The Blessing of the Fae, written by Matt Hicks. Millennia ago, the unseelie Fae created intelligent life along the river of Teneville. This new life they called elves and gnomes, or collectively, the Sylvan. The Sylvan were instructed to tend to the river and to the great forest of Amadrivel. To protect their new children in this endeavor, the Fae blessed the water and land with powerful runes of protection. They explained that the elves and gnomes would be safe from all harm while they were within the forest or traveling along the river, and that only the strong should venture outside. Beyond this barrier were animals that could be hunted for food, valuable mineral resources for the crafting of tools, and ancient, mysterious spots of connected and concentrated magical power, known as ley lines. This boundary became known as the Runic Barrier. Most commoners never travel beyond it a day in their lives. The Fae taught the Sylvan all the ways to survive and thrive within the barrier. This included music, magic, philosophy, hunting, fishing, and more, preserved in a codex. A final teaching was the duty of all the people to care for their dead. The Fae told that it was of the utmost importance that the dead be set afloat on a raft, given the rune for travel, the rune for fire, the rune honoring the god of death, and be quickly sent upstream through the fog. The fog has been traversed by the living, but it is much too deep to travel far. Any who die beyond the runic barrier should be retrieved quickly, or they will become cursed with undeath. After passing down their knowledge, the unseelie left downstream in a grand ship that nearly stretched the width of the Teneville. And only every 100 years, during the festival of Samhain, would they return. Each time they brought gifts of new knowledge or prophecy, all the while celebrating with a great feast. One Samhain, the unseelie queen, brought an intriguing new prophecy that the elves and gnomes would not be alone in this world for long. Less than a century later, the first travelers would wash ashore. These were beings unlike any the Sylvan had ever seen, and while they spoke the Sylvan language perfectly, many could speak other unknown tongues. The travelers knew that in the past they were once called men, dwarves, halflings, beast folk, and more. But beyond that, their pasts were a mystery. All travelers came up the Teneville with nothing, not even the clothes on their backs. Most arrived as babies or young children, but teens or adults arriving was not uncommon. After speaking this prophecy on Samhain night, the queen of the unseelie said that any of these creatures who washed ashore were worthy of life in this land and of the blessing of the Fae, the blessing of the Winter Court. Commoners. For the common folk, life along the river has its hardships, but most basic needs are met, as this is a land of abundance. Berries, mushrooms, and other wild vegetation grow in the Amadrivel forest, while the Teneville River holds numerous species of fish and freshwater crustaceans. Many gnomes choose life along the river as fisherfolk, shipbuilders, or divers, while many elves choose life among the trees as stewards, gatherers, or woodcutters. Druids of the Circle of the Land supervise the preservation and cultivation of the forest and river. There is flora, but no fauna inside the runic barrier. Skilled hunters go beyond the forest, hunting for meat and pelts, preparing for the long and harsh winter. Miners retrieve supplies needed for the construction of homes and buildings. Many commoners dream of a life free from this toil, but there is a strong reverence for the labor and traditions required to maintain this land. Most choose to stay and inherit these generational careers. The Cult of Death. The cult of the god of death includes clerics, paladins, and monks, whose jobs are directly related to the collection and preparation of the dead. Long ago, the Fae told of a war between the god of death and the god of the undeath, and so members of the cult also exterminate any undead found too near the forest. Members of the cult are expected to wear the Mask of Dusk when they travel beyond the runic barrier. It grants the god sight once per day, allowing the wearer the ability to find hidden enemies or the undead. The masks worn by veterans in the cult seem to grant other more powerful effects. Recently, a prophecy foretold that the god of death's power was waning, and that those in the cult must search the lands beyond the forest for something called the Blue Rose. This was said to be a powerful artifact that would supposedly restart the cycle of death and rebirth and bring forth a warmth and light in these lands that was to be called spring. The prophecy told only dire consequences of failure, with no guarantee of success. Cult members are on edge, hoping their faith remains strong through an almost certain time of tribulation. Knowledge of this prophecy has not spread to the greater populace, but all can see that the cult is preparing for a crusade. The Druid Circles. The Circle of the Land Druids are primarily responsible for the management and maintenance of the great river and forest. This is considered an extremely important duty, as all citizens of the Winter Court are charged with the preservation of nature. But druids utilize their knowledge and natural expertise to guide the efforts of the rest of the commoners. Veteran druids of the land are expected to go beyond the runic barrier on occasion, most often accompanied in the task by a druid of the moon. Druids of the moon use their powerful shape-shifting abilities to go undetected beyond the runic barrier, acting as an important vanguard for the druids and rangers of the Amadrivel forest. It is a duty that is ordained by the Fae, but does carry a stigma amongst the commoners of late. Some people see druids of the moon as tainted. This sentiment is related to a tragedy now a decade old. A powerful moon druid went mad and attacked people in the forest for nearly a year before he was hunted down by a group of powerful rangers. Many say that he was driven mad by something he saw beyond the barrier. The truth remains unknown and is cause for concern, even among the druid circles. Rangers and Scouts. Working closely with druids and town merchants, rangers and scouts of the Amadrivel forest work to gather materials and food from beyond the runic barrier. Almost all rangers act independently, putting in work where required and maintaining personal territory. Once a year, they are called together to share newfound knowledge and tales from beyond the barrier. This meeting is led by one simply called the Captain. The Captain is rarely seen outside of these meetings, and they are a mysterious figure that wears a mask and tree bark armor. Their age, gender, and race are all unknown. While all Sylvan and travelers speak the Sylvan language, many rangers and druids speak the Druidic tongue as well. This was first given to the captain by the king of the Fae himself. It is used to communicate in the field. It can be heard by another speaker from miles away. And if you do not speak the language you hear, it just sounds like whispers on the wind. In the latest meeting, the captain was absent for the first time in Wintercourt history. They only sent a messenger hawk bearing a hand-scrawled map from beyond the barrier. After much deliberation, and primarily in secret, a contingency is forming to investigate these strange happenings. The marked location is far beyond the barrier, much farther than any ranger has been in the past. Any quest following this map is to be undertaken with the knowledge that in all likelihood you may never return to the Wintercourt. Mages. All Sylvan sorcerers come from somewhat insular clans, dedicated to the passing of familial magics. Each sorcerer family bears a magical crest, the culmination of the family's generational powers, which is typically passed down to the child that shows the greatest gift for magic. Sorcerer travelers are rare and mostly keep to themselves, not looking to draw the ire of a powerful clan. Many seek work in the towns where they can blend in or pass as a wizard or bard. Typically, wizards and sorcerers do not see much need in journeying beyond the runic barrier. But recently rumors tell of a mage who learned the secret to harnessing the root of all magic. There is a legend regarding this root. Some say it is a physical place. Some search for it within their own spirit, and some believe it to be an ancient tome. Regardless of the individual belief, all know the root to be something that grants incredible power. This rumor has sent adventurous wizards and sorcerers to the barrier, seeking information and traveling companions. The Fae taught the Sylvan the way to channel and harness the power of mana in the world around them. They called this wizardry, as opposed to drawing power from magical circuits, like a sorcerer. Some follow this path to honor tradition, but more do so in pursuit of personal power or magical secrets. Most, though, that call themselves wizards dedicate themselves to the preservation of magical knowledge and the chronicle of history and lore. A wizard's power comes from the mana-clearing traditions of the Fae, but all know of the magical ley lines. They are concentrations of pure mana from the earth, and most wizards dream of making this power their own. Typical wizards wouldn't leave their studies for long, but some feel the change coming in the air. They know that now may be the best time to journey to the ley lines they have long sought. Warlocks. Warlocks of the Fae are those given power from a pact with the Unseelie, often then sent on a unique quest befitting a chosen one of the Fae, a quest only those with great power could achieve. It is the common belief that warlocks of the Fae know secrets of the lands beyond the runic barrier, but they are forbidden to share with those not in a pact. With Samhain approaching, warlocks of the Fae find their powers enhanced beyond their typical levels, now more than ever. Only those in the pact truly know why. Others call themselves warlocks, are those who have found the power of the shadow beyond the forest. The shadow is a strange and deadly energy that often manifests in the form of weaponry. Some die in the pursuit of it, while others cannot handle the power and fall dead upon simply touching the shadow. It is said that a commoner upon merely acquiring a shadow weapon, can immediately fight with a strength beyond their previous abilities, and veteran shadow warlocks are some of the most formidable fighters in this land. Despite the dangers one faces to acquire one, many still travel in pursuit of this destiny-altering power. While most warlocks trouble themselves only with their individual goals, those of the same pact are duty-bound to help each other. If their paths happen to intersect with other adventurers, they are considered keen allies beyond the runic barrier. Steel, Shadow, and Song. In towns along the river, the common folk tell the long history of this land, through story and song, gathering in taverns and common houses after a hard day's work. Some of these storytellers have discovered that there is a power in their words and songs. The tavern folk call them bards or skalds. They perform in the developed towns along the river, or travel far and wide, gathering new tales. A bard's knowledge of the past can lead to powerful and unexpected abilities in the present, and they are sought after as traveling companions, teachers, or entertainers. With more people traveling than ever, the roads are filled with the bard's song and dance. While the Sylvan do not practice feudalism, the code of chivalry is honored by the Knights of the Fae. This organization is modeled on the unseelie knights that protect the fairy king and queen. While membership is kept small, many tales of bravery and strength have been told of this order. The common folk speak of them as blue-cloaked folk heroes, riding into harm's way brandishing steel weaponry gathered from beyond the runic barrier. Its members travel the land, aiding keepers of law and order, defending the innocent and rescuing those in danger. Each knight has an individual mandate given by the Order's Grand Master, an elected position. Recently, a strange illness has spread throughout the land, killing its victims slowly, and no medicinal techniques have proven effective. Word is spreading that the only cure is the mythical panacea from the ley lines beyond the barrier. Many knights gather in the forest to prepare an expedition in the hopes that this illness may be stopped before it claims any more lives. Recently, fighters' guilds and roguish bands claim territory in towns along the river. Some are mostly benevolent, primarily working to develop martial styles or techniques. However, it has become common for open brawls between rival bands to break out in the street, and duels have become a daily occurrence. Other groups antagonize the populace, taking food and drink and fighting over turf. Rising out of this chaos is pit fighting, an extremely popular form of entertainment. Many on the fringes of society seek fame as gladiators in the pits. Performing well can earn fighters a comfortable life, free from toil, and sponsorships from the various guilds, bands, or gangs are highly sought after. Outlanders. On the south side of the Tinneville River, some of the travelers, or even some outcast Sylvan, choose to live life valuing freedom and forsaking tradition and the protection of law and order. These folks honor the bonds of family and friendship above all, and value raw strength in themselves and their leaders. These outcasts are known as outlanders or barbarians, only rarely venturing into well-traveled paths or into towns. This is a world removed from the concerns of the runic barrier, surrounded on one side by the Fog Mountains to the south and the Tinneville River to the north. While largely a separate world, the troubling rumors from the last few years have reached even the outlanders, those young warriors seeking to hone their abilities or gain new wealth will likely be unable to resist the new challenges to be confronted beyond the barrier. The world is changing. There are sylvan and travelers in all walks of life. Even as this is a land of tradition, those who have keen awareness will have noticed the winds of change. New travelers come ashore more often than ever before. More are adventuring beyond the runic barrier in search of fame, power, glory, and wealth, while some simply wish to hone their skills in a dangerous new environment. Veteran rangers have noted an uptick in the number of monsters close to the barrier, and many cultists have seen an increase in undead activity. A mysterious sickness that is unaffected by even magical healing is spreading to more each day. There are rumors that a killer is stalking towns on the river's edge as the bounty for their capture grows. It is less than 3 months until the next Samhain. Word is spreading that the Fae may return early, for the first time, not waiting for the beginning of a new century. You are a citizen of these lands, blessed by the Winter Court and marked by fate. Consider your past so that you may walk boldly into the future. Hero or villain, the choice is yours. It is nearly midnight. The moon is overcast. You find yourself walking along a cobblestone path in almost total darkness. The only thing you see clearly ahead is a doorway, illuminated by a strange yet comforting light. Upon seeing this light, you feel warmth and perhaps even a sense of nostalgia. Yet when you draw near, a sharp chill goes down your spine, whether caused by fear or the night air, you cannot tell. Regardless, you feel compelled to enter through the doorway. What awaits is a traveler in a black cloak, stoking the flames of a roaring fire. You think that travelers like this man are perhaps called hobgoblins, but there is something different about this one.
Welcome, welcome. These autumn nights are growing unusually cold, don't you think? Quickly now, come inside and share my fire. The hour is late, and we have much to discuss.
You cross the threshold without thinking as he continues.
I'm glad you've come. You may call me Hallow, and please forgive me if I don't remove my red cap indoors. You don't mind, do you?
The old traveler laughs and smiles. For a moment, you think you catch a glimpse of his eyes, glowing a deep crimson red. Frozen in place, there's no mistaking the feeling now. It is undeniably fear.
Know that I have called you here at a great personal risk. I do not wish for knowledge of my presence to be known in this town. What do you call this hamlet? Pragma? Is that right? I digress, for there's information that I must have from you, and in exchange, a story I will tell. After hearing my tale, I will ask you your opinion, and upon hearing your answer, I will judge whether you will return home without incident.
The old wooden door closes, and the fire rises to reveal that there are others here as well, much in the same position as you. You may have been strangers before tonight, but a strange fate has brought you together. No matter the outcome, you are in this together.